We are live. Lisa Novak. We are live talking about property prices down potentially 30% is what the banks are talking.
Yeah.
And what do you reckon, Lisa? What's your professional opinion from what you're seeing out there on the street? This is a huge topic. This is the one that everyone's talking about when we're out there in the marketplace. What do you reckon?
Look, I'm going to be super diplomatic about this one. We've always been very, very factual people, Mark.
Yes.
You know, even right throughout COVID, but even before that, like our whole life, it's just based on facts. We're certainly never ones to speculate. You know, if we followed the speculation of what was going on, let's say with COVID coming into this whole pandemic, the speculation was so much worse than the current situation we find ourselves in, thank God. But the reality of it is COVID was nowhere near as bad as, here in Australia, I'm talking, as bad as what the speculation suggested that it would be. And I think it's much the same with property prices going down. What do you reckon?
You know what gets me with these property prices, guys, is the banks, and more up to listen to everyone's feedback who's watching tonight to see what you think as well. But why all four banks almost on the same day, in the same week, all reported the same data? It wasn't like it was individual founder data that they thought. I thought there was a little bit of collusion going on. Can you imagine, sort of, for it all to come out on the same day from all four banks, it was weird.
Yeah, definitely. And look, you know, there's no doubt we all know that the economy is nowhere near as good as what it was. We're certainly not naive. But look, if you just look around, Mark, let's look at open home numbers from Saturday, and let's look at open home numbers from the Saturday before, and let's look at open home numbers from the Saturday before. Those numbers grew dramatically over the last 3 weeks. So 3 weeks ago, we were reporting numbers, you know, we were sort of seeing dribs and drabs coming through. At that stage, we're only allowed to do one-on-one opens. But even so, we track our numbers weekly, our open home numbers collectively as an office. Last Saturday, we all got smashed. You know, there was buyers around. These were not just people that were researching. These were actual buyers. And how do we know that? Because today, my team alone had 4 offers that have come in. You know, that's a busy Monday. So, you know, I think here we've just got to let common sense prevail. If property prices are speculated to fall by up to 30%, why are there so many buyers out in the market? You know, those buyers in the marketplace are certainly helping property prices to really just plateau. What do you reckon?
Maybe it's a pill. Maybe it's just temporary. Maybe that's just gonna. What gets me is whenever, like, if you observe the property market over 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it does not operate like the stock market. Your stock market can happily lose a lot of capital overnight.
Yeah.
Happily. The stock market's always moved like a steam train. It's a slow on uptaking, and it's slow, you know, on downtaking, on slowing down. So it's just always done that. So it's always been a period where it's wound up slowly and it's wound down slowly.
Yeah.
Why would you see 30%? Now, 30%.
What are they basing that on?
That's a great one. We'll bring that up in a sec. But 30% is a PA. It's a per annum. When have we ever seen a 30% drop in a property market across Australia, across Sydney? It's never happened. Now, then feed what you just said into it. Exactly. Like,
so what I want to know, what are those facts? I refer to facts, but what is that speculation based on? I've actually got some facts here, and I just want to run these past you guys. In 1973, the median house price was $27,400. That's in 1973. In 2020, the median house price is $1.378 million. That is a growth of 4,930%. They're the facts. So no one ever looked back 40 years and said, I just can't believe, you know, for the person that bought that house for $27,400 back in 1973, they're not looking back and saying, I never made any money on that property. No doubt within that time, I know since 1973, we went through all sorts of things. We went through recessions, we went through GFCs, the property market rode the wave. And it's a good old fashioned saying, Mark, that a very, very well-respected property developer told us, and that is nothing has changed in the last 100 years and nothing's going to change in the next 100 years, right?
So why is it putting such a short-term view on a long-term market?
Because a pandemic has gotten in the way. No doubt there's an issue here with our economy. Like, we're not being naive. But there's always something. I think maybe as real estate agents, we're quite resilient creatures, because there's always something, right? Just before COVID, we were hit with lending and how hard that was. And then, you know, prior to that, there's been GFCs and recessions and all sorts of situations. But the reality of it is people will always need to sell and people will always need to buy, right? The buyers, and I'm actually having great conversations at the moment with buyers, because some buyers are saying, I'm just going to hold off, Lisa. I think property prices are going to come off. Okay. Based on, you know, what are you basing that knowledge on besides speculation? What if they don't? Full stop. And the other thing is that the property that they're looking at is not going to be available if those property prices fall. You know, and not only that, but they're not going to also have that capital appreciation either. So, you know, you've got that photo, Mark, on your desk, and it says, here's a photo of the person still waiting for the price of property to come down.
You want to grab it for you?
And it's a person who looks like he's about 150 years old.
I'm going to grab the photo.
So,
hey, just a couple of things, and I want to invite our audience in on this. Amal is a property expert. Chris Henry is a property expert. Hey, Chris. Michael Edwards is a property expert. I would love to know, guys, what's your best one-liner? Now, we may be there, you know, there may be some people in here that are property people that are watching, some people are not. I'd love to know your balanced opinion. We've often got our people on to watch our social media that have the less optimistic opinion. I'm interested in it, but what I'm really interested in is what you said at the beginning is factually. What are the facts to base upon that you think everything's going to be okay and it's not going to go down 30% or it's going to go up? What are you going to base on that it is Armageddon, that is very, very bad and it can potentially be 30% or more? What are you basing it on?
I agree. Not only that, but, you know, buyers always... Okay, so this is an interesting one, guys, because buyers always say, I'm just going to wait until the market comes off. Now, how do you know when the market is actually at rock bottom? You don't. The only way that you actually know when the market has hit rock bottom is when it's too late and that market has started to rebound again. So the thing is that you've just got to be super careful that you are just following the facts and you're not listening to the speculation. And as I said, you know, if you guys see that property out there that you are keen on, that's the property that you should be buying, because that property will not be available in a year's time. And there's the guy that's still waiting for the price of property to fall. Mark, bring it in a little bit so we can all see. There he is.
It actually looks like my dad.
Yeah. It looks like your dad.
My dad was a real estate agent, and my dad had this sitting on his table for 30 years. My dad was a real estate agent for 30 years.
Yeah, true story.
And this is the exact, this is not a copy. This is the original of Dad had sitting on his table. So
that's cool. But the thing is, Mark, again, if we just refer back to open homes, and look, I spoke with a local agent over the weekend as well, and he reported that he had 54 groups come through his open home. I mean, they are not small numbers. No. You know, that level of buyer activity does not mean that these property prices are going to come off. Now, even throughout COVID, not one single one of our properties sold, and we all sat back and said, I cannot believe how cheap that property sold for. Not one single property has sold. Not only that, Mark, but I'm yet to come up against a vendor who has contacted me and said, Lisa, I need to sell.
I'm up against the
like,
wall.
Yeah, I yet to come up against that vendor. So, you know, and no doubt, look, that may change, right? It could very well be that we are all on some sort of a sugar hit. That's possible.
Yeah.
Some people may be walking around with artificial money in their pockets. And when the government puts the pause button on JobKeeper and JobSeeker, you know, and all the other childcare and all the other incentives that are currently in place, maybe we're going to see the ramifications. But right now at this stage, I'm suggesting that the property market's actually pretty good. Pretty good.
The one Chris Henry says the latest report shared from REA is a 0.3% median house price increase.
Interesting.
Based on transactions. Okay, so transactions, that goes off settlements. That's a great one. That's very factual. I love it.
Auction clearance rates is another one, Mark. I know you're not a fan of auction clearance rates because you don't truly believe that they're that those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you want to cover why, but you know, I know you're not a fan, but they are up. So they are up from the week before and the week before. And I get that, you know, we were doing online auctions and now we're able to do proper auctions, but they're up and they're sitting at about 72, 73% clearance rate over the weekend.
Now, I don't want to sit here being a preaching property because that's what we do. I genuinely want to explore what's being discussed on with the banks and what people are feeling out there. And that's why I'm really looking at the screen tonight, looking at everyone's responses.
Yeah.
But how's this for a picture? And don't get me wrong, I think like we lead a real estate company of 40 or 50 staff, landlords. You know, we've got over 200 properties that we're selling and that we're renting at any one time. I honestly, in the bottom of my heart, believe to be a good leader, you've got to be a good follower. And I think you've got to know when to follow, and I think you've got to know when to lead. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that in the last 8 weeks, I've been an avid follower of let's all move in the same direction. What government says is what Novak does. Very, very big, because it was like, this is not a time where we can afford everyone to have their own opinions and splay off into their directions.
Yeah.
I think as a country, we also did that well. I think as a country, we were looking up the wall of very bad virus, very bad sickness and hardship. Okay, so let's just take that as a medical cross-section, a medical, you know, facts of what happened. We did good.
Yeah, agreed.
Now, if I take that experience and I now translate that or chunk that across to the economy or chunk that across to the marketplace, I can't help but to think that the government, and don't get me wrong, I'm very happy to go the opposite way when everyone's running that way as well, but I can't help to think that our biggest asset class in the country, that our country is going to really protect that asset class, to protect sentiment, to protect people, to protect the country. I can't see our and I've got to say, I'm not political, but our wonderful government kills me to even say. I think that's
called let common sense prevail. Let common sense prevail. So for you buyers out there that are sitting on the sidelines waiting for those property prices to come down rather, the best thing that you can do is go to an open home on Saturday and have a good look around, because I'm just looking at my crystal ball here, and I reckon that the open home numbers for this coming Saturday are going to be equally as good, if not better, than what we saw last Saturday. So guys,
the numbers are good. The open house numbers are good across Sydney.
Phenomenal.
Numbers are good. It's not just us. We're not just preaching. The numbers are good. That is positive for everyone.
Yeah. Australia-wide, I mean, we're in touch with a number of agents from all around the country, and anyone that's watching, guys, feel free, please make a comment in here as to if you are seeing more buyer activity over the last 7 to 14 days. Interested to know. But, you know, the best exercise that you can do is go to an open home and listen to the conversations that buyers are having, and listen to the conversations that buyers are having with real estate agents, because just, you know, let common sense prevail. Honestly, today, four offers. Four offers. That's just my team had 4 offers come in. The day started with offers. So that's always a really, really good sign. And I can tell you now, Mark, I've not seen activity like this since before COVID. So,
Okay.
you know, I can't see that changing anytime soon.
Devil's advocate,
Yeah.
that's this month. What about the rest of the year?
Look, as I mentioned just before, I've been having really good conversations with buyers. The majority of buyers that I have been having conversations with at open homes and over the phone and via email and social media, etc., have not been affected by COVID, i.e. they are still employed, they're teachers, they're builders.
They wouldn't be coming to open houses if they were affected by COVID.
No, I disagree, because usually we see a good mix of people coming through our open homes. Some people are just starting to research. Some people just want to see maybe what their property price is going to do. You know, so they've come into the local area and they're just having a look around. You know what it's like, Mark. You've got your researchers, and then you've got your, you know, your cold, warm and hot buyers out there. What I'm seeing at the moment is really just a good combination of medium to hot buyers out there in the marketplace. Pretty much everyone I'm having conversations with has not been affected by COVID. They're still employed.
Lisa, I think it's important to note to everyone, guys, these are the indicators. So we are the ambassadors of the property market. So we take notes, we read, we talk to people, we're on the coalface, and then we sort of make some sort of sense out of it. If there's anyone that's going to do that best, it's going to be a real estate agent. And of course, they're going to take that positive swing on it. But when the guy, what we're sharing with everyone tonight is the experience of 50 agents in the office. We all collectively have this, you know, opinion that the market's not going to drop 30%. And we all collectively have the opinion of why we think it's not going to drop that 30%. And that's what we're sharing with everyone tonight, because there are key markers we watch in the marketplace. And we are happy to admit if we're truly screwed. There was slight admission of that through COVID. In different aspects, but I think, you know, we're very passionate about that property market at the moment. We're not even protecting it; it's just reading the facts of what you're saying those indicators are in the marketplace. So it's not just positive stuff that we're saying, guys.
100%. Not only that, Mark. Let's not forget. Again, you know, we're just dealing with the facts here. Buyers on the Northern Beaches are getting a discount on property prices since pre-COVID of between 5 to 10%.
Yep. So you're saying the property market, just because this is common to you and I, but you're saying the property market did take a hit through the last 4 to 8 weeks through COVID of about
5 to 10%. So it's really just depending. It's all property. Real estate always is dependent on supply and demand. So what we saw that took the hardest hit were, and we're just talking about Northern Beaches centric properties at the moment. So what took the hardest hit were, you know, the 1 and 2 bedroom apartments in DY. They're always the ones that we have the most supply of. So they are always going to take the hardest hit. You know, there's let's suggest 50 or 60 of those properties currently around on the market. So they've come off about 10%. Okay, not all property has though. So houses, let's suggest a house in DY where we don't have an oversupply of that kind of stock, that has not been hit as hard, but there is definitely a correction in the market on that style of property. So buyers, you're already getting your discount. You know, I can't suggest that with this level of buyer activity, you're going to get more. Yes, I'm going to have a drink while you do that.
I've got a screen, guys. Lisa doesn't, so I've got a job. There you go. There's a gentleman called Damien Scarf that says, "Hi, Lisa." It doesn't say, "Hi, Mark."
He's my biggest fan. He's my biggest fan.
I don't get it.
Hi, Damo.
Michael Edwards, prices have taken a hit, no doubt, but turnover is a killer for real estate agents. Well, no one cares about us. When the stimulus runs dry, we will see who is swimming naked. I love that quote. You used it a couple of times. Even though employment figures are false at the moment, It doesn't take those into account on JobKeeper. Chris Henry, the government's made good decisions when required. So I believe great decisions will be made in things ahead. There you go, guys. So that's what they're saying.
It's really interesting times.
Our takeaways is the property market. So our headline today was 30% price drop flop. Banks talk property down. That was the headline. Let's deal with the facts. Now, the reality is that what you're saying is you're seeing big numbers. The team's seeing big numbers.
We are, yes, definitely. A significant increase in buyers since the Saturday before last.
Yeah.
And I reckon next Saturday we're going to see even bigger buyer numbers. Look, Mark, I can just see by the level of inquiry that's coming through now as well. So 3 weeks ago, we were getting dribs and drabs of property inquiry coming through. Now we are getting a substantial amount of inquiry coming back through social media and through email. But yeah, it's not quite where we were before COVID hit, but the market is definitely in a much better place than where we were 2-3 weeks ago, without a doubt. They're the facts, guys.
And ladies and gentlemen, I've got to say, a 2% interest rate or 2.5% interest rate.
Can't dismiss that. Yeah.
Dealing with the facts, a 2.5% interest rate. If you want to go and rent a property, you're going to be paying more than owning the property. It doesn't make sense. Why would the property market take a hit?
Yeah.
Why would the market go down 30% when these guys are lining up to pay more if they're renting? The fact is, if you go and buy a property today, it's going to be cheaper for you to buy it and live in it than it is to rent that same property back. You're paying more. So it's like, why would I cash flow myself into a worse position when I can just stay here and be in a better position? And to back that up even more, Lise, you can rent the property. So if you rent the property, it will pay you a profit because the interest rate is so low.
Spot on. Not only that, can I just add to this as well? Financing is getting harder. We know that. It was getting harder before COVID, but it's also much harder now after, mid-COVID or as we come out of COVID, for the obvious reasons. If you have got your finance approved, I would strongly suggest that you go and buy a property now, because the banks are reevaluating loans for obvious reasons, correct?
Yep.
All right. Really, really good buying opportunity, guys, for the reasons that we've mentioned. I remember last time we had a very similar conversation to this. It was just, actually, you know what? It was around this time last year. And the reason I remember that was because the election weekend was about the 16th of May. I reckon we're spot on. I reckon exactly, it's funny that we're having this conversation now, because I reckon exactly 12 months ago was the election weekend.
Yep.
And I remember saying then, and I reckon I've got it documented somewhere, that I said, I'm calling it. This is the bottom of the market. We will start to see the market turn the corner post-election.
Yep.
Do you remember that weekend?
Yep.
Okay. Oh. I know how I remember it, because I was doing an open home in Pacific Parade and a lady had turned up early, and I said to her, look, come on through. I'm so sorry. We're just setting up. But come on through. And she said, I just want to let you know, you've got people all the way down the stairwell and all the way up the street.
Yep.
Do you remember, Mark? And the Manly Daily came. We ended up being on the front page of the Manly Daily. Over 100 buyers came through that open. And that was exactly where the market had turned. Now, speculation at that time was that the property market was coming off, and it was in a dire place. Speculation.
Can I finish off with a nice fact as well? And I've been broadcasting this quite heavily lately.
Yes.
And
Go on, Mark.
This sounds a little bit ruthless, but everyone knows I like my numbers.
Yeah. Can't see. I can't see anyway. I've got you on a little screen. I've got to switch over.
I'm coming closer. Can you see that?
Not really, but yeah, explain it to us.
Let me explain it to you.
Explain it to us. Go.
RP data.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is they take all the properties that have sold.
Yep.
All the properties that sold.
Mm-hmm.
SEO, and then they compile suburb sales. So they look at the median prices and what sells an area. Fact. So when RP data reports figures, They're going off the exchanged contracts. They're going off factual data. So in our core suburbs now, we're pretty typical for Sydney, Australia. Northern beaches, not an terribly expensive or cheap area. French's Forest, 25% gain 1 year.
Wow, that's nice.
DY,
that's huge.
32% gain 1 year. Brookvale, 24% gain 1 year. Cromer, 24% gain 1 year. Narrowena, 26% gain 1 year. Beacon Hill, 26% gain 1 year. Collaroy Plateau, 27% gain 1 year. Collaroy, 24% gain 1 year.
Wow.
You know what? If the banks are right, who cares?
Yeah.
Really?
No,
Right?
well, it's true, but they're the facts, right? So again, we just want to deal with the facts.
If it's gone up 30% now and it's going to go down 30% later, it's neutral. Guess what? Next year I'll make 10% again. Isn't that right? Because if you look at the last 50 years, that's what the market's done.
Agreed. Now, look, the other thing is, as I mentioned earlier on, guys, if you see a property and you love it, it's not going to be available anyway. So, wait all you like, but that particular property won't be available. Just on that, Mark, I have to mention a really, really amazing property that we have just brought on today.
You're going to do a shameless plug.
What is it?
You're going to do a shameless plug.
Yes. It's a beautiful property, and it's super worthy of it.
We're not here to sell properties. We're here to help.
No, but I know, but I have to mention it. And the reason that I want to mention it is because a property like this comes along once in a lifetime. And so for you guys that just want to wait for those property prices to come off based on speculation, a property like this just simply won't be available at that time. It's a two-bedder. Mark your screen. No, I don't know. Like, no one can see this.
You can't see that?
No, but that's the worst photo because it's actually facing toward the beach and you're missing the ocean.
Yeah, but I love the block.
Okay, so it is a beautiful block. It's an immaculately, tightly held block in DY. It's about 20 steps to DY Beach, and you've got this gorgeous big L-shaped balcony, and it looks absolutely bang on right to DY Beach. Ocean views on one side, and then you've got DY Lagoon views on the other side. It's a deceased estate, a beautiful property. But my point is that, as I mentioned, a property like that is simply not going to be available for you guys. They're just going to wait for those property prices to come off.
It's long-term, guys. It is long-term.
For sure. Again, they're the stats. 1973, Sydney, median house price, 27,400. Now in 2020, median house price, 1.378 million. Growth, 4,930%.
And you sound like a figures person to me.
Can you believe that?
Oh, I've never heard you say that.
I can't believe what happened to me.
Roll off your tongue like that. Alessio says, how much?
Alessio, I'm sorry, Damien.
How much? Good question.
Changed. How much? Guiding a million and 75,000. Yes.
Good place for a holiday, Chris Henry. Good place for a holiday.
Beautiful. House. Absolutely beautiful property.
Good chat. Competing with everyone is more comfortable. That's it.
All right, guys. We done?
What do you reckon? I reckon we nailed that topic. I don't think we were. I don't think we'll like Bible bashes for property saying, Like, I think we dealt with a lot of facts there. There's the interest rates. There's it's more expensive to go and rent. If you want to live somewhere, there's the property market's always been long term and it always will be long term. In the history of property, it's never gone down 30%. The banks, they all talked the same drop in the same day of the same week of the same year. It didn't make sense. Why would they all say that? Why do
they do that? Why do they do that? Do they just want people keeping their money in the bank?
I've got a theory on that.
Okay, I'm interested to hear it, and then we're going to go. Look at my. I keep looking at the bags under my eyes. It's been a busy day.
Miss Novak, way too hard.
It's been a busy day.
My theory.
Yep.
Is the government has something in this.
Here we go. The conspiracy theory.
Yeah, my theory is that.
Careful now.
Well, whenever the market's tanking, the government's there, like giving a little touch on the bum. whenever the market's rallying hard and out of control, the government there's, whoa, boy, whoa. Let's put the interest rates up so you don't get too excited. Whenever it's going hard, they're like, Reserve Bank, you're lending too much money. So I reckon that don't underestimate our government, our friends, our good government, I must say. I'm not bashing them. Our good government, I reckon.
Awesome government. Yeah.
Don't underestimate them, because I think if there was a 30% drop in property values, I think psychologically what that would do to people, mental health, economically what that would do with the sentiment of the market. I think our friends at government are there to say, hey, first home buyers, we're going to give you a little bit more money. And
well, you know what? Look, a couple of weeks ago, it was stamp duty. That people were saying, oh, we'll just wait because apparently the government's getting rid of stamp duty. Okay, land tax. Never heard any more about that. So and last week it was property prices down 30%. So there's always something. Don't believe everything you read, guys. I think we'll just wrap up on that. Don't believe everything that you read. Stick to the facts. If you see a property that you love and you've got your finance approved, just buy it.
Figures don't
yeah, the figures don't, and you'll never go wrong. Long-term transaction, they're the stats. If you didn't catch them, just rewind a few minutes and you will. But pretty much since 1973, property prices are up 4,930%. They're the facts. All right, I'm out of here.
Ready for it? See ya.
Let's do it.